I finally figured out how I can start teaching about writing anti-heroes. This has been haunting me all month as I've known what I wish to share on a subconscious level, plus the book I wish to cite as the best teacher for it, but I wasn't sure how I want to present it yet. Luckily, last week, it clicked with me when sharing Baccano with a friend, once we reached the character of Claire. I'm going to spoil Claire's role in Baccano for those who don't know about him. He's a character who is introduced early on, and appears in the opening, but he's seemingly killed at the end of episode 2. We only get further context for what happens with him in episode 9. When it comes back to the room, it shows Claire disarming the guy by kicking the gun out of his hand, catching it, and then shooting the guy in the head. After killing him, Claire encounters someone who has taken to impersonating a conductor. Claire decides to interrogate him through first holding him near the train tracks, and when the guy tries to maneuver the gun to shoot Claire smashes his hand into the tracks, grinding it off. Claire then keeps pressing the interrogation, asking the guy how he got the uniform. Once he learned that he killed the old man it belonged to, Claire tells him that the guy's name was Tony, and he's the man who mentored him about being a conductor. He's angry they took someone from Claire's world, and so Claire smashes the guy's head against the train tracks, grinding him to a pulp. He then leaves the mess behind, covering himself in blood, and declares himself the Rail Tracer, a mythical figure that he made up. Then Claire goes on to be the most heroic character on the train. The train itself was being attacked by two different villainous factions at once. One group sought to take important hostages to try and impress the person their cult was built around, while the other was there to slaughter people. Claire goes on a killing spree, taking out all of them one by one. Oh, and during this, he learns about an immortal on the train who tries to get tons of people killed. Claire deals with him by psychologically torturing him alongside physical torture, including a scene where he bites off his fingers. The reason Claire can pull all this off, to note, is because he's an assassin. To be precise, he's an assassin known as Vino, who gained his nickname because of how bloody the crime scenes he involved with him get. Sounds like prime villain material, right? Well, hear me out. When the leader of the white suits, Lad, ends up fighting someone who accompanied the black suits, Shawnee, Claire initially planned to let the two of them fight and he'd kill whoever survived. Once he learned that Shawnee never approved of what the others in the group did, he steps in, deciding to defend her. Lad writes off Claire due to his compassion, to which Claire responds that yes, he is compassionate, because of his certainty in himself, that qualities like mercy and compassion belong to the strong, and that he is strong. A character touting stuff like this tends to be a positive thing, which I imagine would lead people to consider him a hero. That and the fact that he has only harmed criminals and attempted murderers. The worst he did to anybody who wasn't a threat to everyone here was ask someone who boarded the train illegally, tickets please. He scared the crap out of them for boarding illegally, but that was it. Anyway, from there he makes clear how much of a non-threat Lad is to him, while also adding in a certain belief as to why he is sure that Lad can't win, because he's never going to die. Claire doesn't believe he's ever going to die, because he believes he's the only person who actually exists. Since he can't imagine a world without him, he's concluded that the world is an illusion, a show, constructed for his mind by him alone, which is why it's impossible for him to die. I know that might seem insane for me to bring up, but trust me, that level of thinking is important to the core lesson and why Claire is the case study character. There are some things about Claire which I do think are worth modeling in oneself, but he isn't a Paragon. He's far too callous for the role, among other things. And when it comes to flaws, while Claire certainly has them, he isn't trying to change himself at all. He walks to the beat of his own drum in ways many shouldn't try to replicate, as it would be self-destructive. Still, despite this, I can't call him a villain. Even as an assassin, Claire only kills other criminals. He refuses to kill those who aren't guilty, plus he does have discernment of the types he goes after as criminals, such as sparing Jacuzzi at the end of the train situation when Jacuzzi was ready to fight, and he is a protector of innocence. When it comes to morality, Claire is unconventional, and that's the key to writing what most people call anti-heroes. The best book I ever read on how to write an anti-hero and so on, Bitches, Bastards, and Bullies, would classify Claire as a badass. I, meanwhile, shall classify him into what I like to call the Maverick. Mavericks are central characters who defy conventional norms and expectations. They operate according to their own set of rules and moral codes, often find themselves at odds with societal standards. Mavericks are driven by personal motives, whether it be revenge, survival, or their unique sense of justice, and are characterized by their independence, resourcefulness, and willingness to take risks. So, with that in mind, these tend to be the characteristics of Mavericks you should consider when writing these types. 1. Independent thinkers. Mavericks do not conform to societal norms or expectations. They carve their own path and make decisions based on their personal principles. 2. Nonconformity. These characters often reject traditional roles and values, opting instead to follow their own unconventional paths. Their actions and decisions frequently surprise others and defy expectations. 3. Resourcefulness. Mavericks are adaptable and resourceful, able to navigate complex situations using a combination of skill, wit, and creativity. 4. Personal code of ethics. While their moral codes may not align with societal norms, Mavericks operate according to a personal set of principles that guide their actions. 5. Risk takers. Mavericks are not afraid to take risks or face danger head-on. Their willingness to confront difficult situations and make bold decisions set them apart. And 6. Complex motivations. Their actions are often driven by personal motives, such as revenge, survival, or a unique sense of justice. In my revised morality spectrum, the Maverick is closer to the everyman, which can touch on why they often seem a bit more relatable to people. However, they aren't an everyman because, well, here. Let me go back to the idea of the underlying appeal of each of these archetypes. The Paragon appeals to the superego through being an ideal to aspire to. It showcases something as possible and provides a moral compass. The Flawed hero appeals to the ego by being a relatable example which shows someone having issues but still doing their best. They're inspirational. They provide an example to learn from and how they overcome their struggles. The Maverick, finally, appeals to the id. They're escapist characters who can actually act on the more animalistic impulses we dream up. The question of whether things will catch up with them depends on the themes and tone of the tale itself. Still, this is part of the raw essence which makes them so thrilling to follow. Or at least, I think that is the case for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter as I keep refining this morality spectrum to be as comprehensive as possible. What do you think of me choosing to call this the Maverick? Or how it's been defined? Any questions which come to mind? Or character examples you'd like to toss forward? The stage is yours in the comments.